It's young.
Doing it anyway. Can I Okay, does everyone have a writing utensil? Yes.
No, I don't have one.
Okay.
Yeah, here, 4, 6, 16. 4, 6.
What? Wow.
6. 16, that's a date.
Okay, this will be real short and sweet.
6.
Oh, I think it was 16.
As most of you know, any incident that happens within the agency and gets reported on HCSS has to have a corrective action plan. Some of those are specific to the house and the individual. Some of them, they end up being specific to the whole agency. The emergency disaster plan training is one that came about due to a corrective action plan that applies to the whole agency. As part of our corrective action plan, we have to make sure that all the staff in the house know that we do have an emergency disaster plan, and the basics of it, and so here we are. The first page I gave you is the emergency disaster plan training. It is a summary of the policy which is in place. The policy is available in all the houses. It's also available online. You need to make sure you have signed in and I get your test before you leave. No test, no credit. So, as we go along, feel free to answer your test questions. Here quickly. So, the rationale is to provide guidelines to ensure the health and safety of the program participants in the event of an emergency or disaster, and to ensure the roles are assigned in a disaster and an emergency so that all involved understand and complete the duties associated with their roles. So, number one, 2 rationales. You're ensuring the health and safety of the program participants, and you're clarifying the roles of the people involved. Or we're clarifying the roles. I'm not reading all of this. Our emergency management function and an emergency SLS emphasis will be placed on meeting the basic human needs of our individuals. That's number 2, by the way. And those basic human needs we're going to be meeting are going to be things like food, shelter, and medical care for our individuals. We'll get you, Amy. I'll help you at the end. But you need to sit through and listen. Okay? And I'll make sure you understand what everybody else has said. Okay. The only people who can actually declare an emergency are the executive director or the assistant director. So only the executive director or the assistant director can declare a disaster or emergency. So if something's happening and we're not sure, we would call number 3. Are we lost?
No, I'm trying to think of how to spell something.
We have to contact Broder, Mr. Gray, and they would actually declare the emergency for the agency, and we would follow the procedure from there. And it lists here the notification process for how that would occur. In the event of a declared disaster, the incident command post will be established at one of the 3 locations. We're going to be going to Hope Drive. We'll be coming to the main office, or there'll be another announced location. Hope Drive is fairly central to the houses on the east side, which is why they chose it. It's also a large house and site. The office, of course, and if need be, we would pick a different one. Our 4 proactive actions are immediate shelter. Means you shelter in the house where you are. So in case of a tornado, severe thunderstorm, something like that, it would be immediate shelter. Immediate evacuation, gas leak, fire, you get out of the house immediately. Shelter in place, you're gonna stay in the house and be warm and comfy and do the best you can. Fourth one is evacuation to another site. In the event of the emergency, staff on duty is responsible for calling 911. Remember, that should be your first call in an emergency. Get the emergency people responding first and then take care of the individuals and notifying everyone else. In an emergency disaster situation, the roles of the staff on duty, and this is for all staff on duty, not just the person calling 911. You're going to provide leadership and a sense of security, and you're going to provide activities for participants during a period of enforced confinement or an emergency. You're going to keep them entertained. You're going to keep them busy. You may not have TV. You may not have electricity. So it's going to be your job as the staff to find them something to do to keep their mind off the fact that they're stuck in a house and they can't go anywhere, or they're out somewhere and stuff where they're not familiar. In the event of evacuation, staff members implement emergency first aid or CPR as needed for the individuals. Make sure they're safe. Your first aid or CPR if needed. To maintain communication during emergencies, you're going to limit all non-emergency phone calls. That keeps you free to receive them if you need to be, but it also frees up the line if it is an actual emergency that affects more than just our group home. And then list forward see supplies you take with you during evacuation. There's a whole list of them here. You want to get the basics so that if you're leaving, you're going to be able to take care of your individuals. Van keys so you can drive your van. They're going to need their medications, so their med boxes and their Mars. Grab and go books so you have basic information about your individuals. Continuity of care form, seasonal clothing. Anything else on this list? Last page of your package, just maintaining the individual safety, some other, repeating some stuff we've already talked about, some more guidelines for staff. Questions? Yes, Amy, we'll get you through it.
Yeah, where was number 8, Marion? On the back page?
In the event of an evacuation, staff members implement CPR or first aid as needed for the individuals.
Okay.
We went over some of this in our all-staff meeting and in previous things before the first of the year. It came back in our cap after the first of the year that they wanted us to do it again and make sure everybody knew it and concentrate just on this. This is the second part of our corrective action plan. There will be one more training coming up. We are in the process of scheduling it. It is suicide awareness, and that is also mandatory for everyone in the agency. So watch for dates for that. There's at least 3 groups that are going to be done.
Will they be posted in group homes?
Yes, they'll be posted in group homes. They'll be emailed to people. I believe they're all going to be held at the library if we can arrange that. It is a training done by an outside source. That was one of the requirements of the Western region. That it was someone specialized in suicide and crisis, and and that they did it. So that has to be done by May 12th. So watch for those coming up. And again, the actual policy, which goes into a little bit more depth than our summary here, also gives the relocation sites for all the houses. If there is an emergency, you have to move from one to another, is online, and it should be in all the group homes. Okay, you're free. Thank you all, and make sure I get your tests. Summaries are yours to keep if you don't want them. You can have them here.
Thanks for being short and sweet.
I need these. I need the test.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are yours, keep them. Okay, sweetie. We'll get you those. Hold on.
Want this back, Mary?
No, well, if you don't want it, I'll take it
Oh,
back.
I didn't know if you were mandatory. You're not Dolores.